There is so much attention on gut health, microbiome. I mean, that's been a key word in just like the health world for so many years, microbiome. And I think we've linked it a lot to, I think, immune function. We've linked it to the gut brain, but I feel like we still don't link it as much, even though the research is there, to mental illness, to depression, let's say. And we know that now there are studies showing that the microbiome, certain bacteria in your gut, if you have it, you're more susceptible or less susceptible to depressive moods, to that. How important do you think it is on what we eat and our mood and our, and our mental state of health? Because so much of what we think we eat is more based on how fat we are, or overweight, or just food is seen as nourishment, but not really connected to mood as much. I mean, do you think that's something we're completely overlooking, is that link between gut health and our actual mental state?
Yeah, it's crazy, because I'm kind of one end of the spectrum where the gut-brain axis is one of my key areas I lecture on. Like I, spoke at a big mental health, integrative medicine for mental health conference, like hundreds of psychiatrists, and the whole lecture was on the gut-brain axis. Or tomorrow I'm giving a lecture for Microbiome Labs on the gut-brain axis connection. And there's a ton of activity going on there, but kind of the simple schematic. I have some good illustrations that I created around this. There's really these two main pathways that are at play here. The vagus nerve pathway, which is just that, direct, hotline from Batman to Robin, from the enteric nervous system to the central nervous system. So it's like, for example, when we have this dysbiotic, imbalanced, grimy microbiome, our garden of life is not living its best life down there. And there's all these endotoxins and exotoxins and mycotoxins. These actually will trigger signals through the vagus nerve up to the brain that tell the brain, like, hey, danger, threat. It induces microglial activation in the neuroinflammatory cascade. So you can actually break down the blood-brain barrier from the brain to the outside. But then we also have this humoral, that leaky gut, leaky brain pathway, where it's like you have all of these endotoxins, exotoxins, mycotoxins, food antigens like gluten, the glyphosate, all these things that now are leaking into the bloodstream through that hyperpermeable gut and then circulating up to the blood-brain barrier, causing inflammation and damage there, and then literally crossing the blood-brain barrier that's compromised, leaking into the brain and driving more microglial activation and neuroinflammation. So it's this whole perpetuating thing. And so just as like a little golden pearl, the lipopolysaccharide from the dysbiosis is one of the main triggers in that whole pathway. But the antidote is the opposite of the short-chain fatty acids. And this is where the concept of dysbiosis and imbalanced microbiome, a healthy, diverse microbiome, there isn't excessive endotoxin load or endotoxin translocation. And there's plenty of short-chain fatty acids that basically do the opposite. They send signals through the vagus nerve that say, no, calm down neuroinflammation and promote neural repair and neurogenesis. We have so much science on this, like short-chain fatty acids as a therapeutic. I would say the most promising natural therapeutics for mental health and neurodegeneration are the short-chain fatty acids, therapeutic mushrooms, different nutrients like zinc and vitamin D3, the list goes on. But yeah, it's not common knowledge by any means.